Your brain is basically a squishy computer that runs on weird shortcuts. And those shortcuts, they can be hacked, not by a computer programmer, but by psychology. Today, we're going to explore 5 psychology tricks you can't ignore. Not because they're creepy, but because they actually work. These are backed by real studies, used by negotiators, salespeople, and everyday people who understand how our minds take the lazy route. Let's begin before your brain finds an excuse to scroll away. In the 1700s, Benjamin Franklin had a political rival who absolutely despised him. Instead of fighting fire with fire, Franklin did something completely counterintuitive. He asked the man for a favor. He wrote, politely requesting to borrow a rare book from his rival's personal library. The man, flattered, agreed. Franklin returned it a week later with a thank you note. And something strange happened. The hostility melted away. The two became cordial, even friendly. Franklin later wrote, "He that has once done you a kindness will be more ready to do you another." Modern psychology confirmed this effect decades later. It's called the Benjamin Franklin effect, and it's based on a simple principle of cognitive dissonance, that uncomfortable mental tension we feel when our actions and beliefs don't match. If someone helps you, their brain subconsciously rationalizes it. I helped them, therefore, I must like them. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. This is powerful in daily life. Want to connect with a coworker? Ask them for quick advice? Trying to improve a tense relationship? Ask for a small favor, something low effort but meaningful. It flips the script. Instead of earning favor through generosity, you create it through trust. It's social judo, using someone's helpful instinct to create genuine goodwill. Remember that one awkward thing you said 3 years ago that still keeps you up at night? Here's the truth. Nobody remembers it. That's the spotlight effect. Our tendency to believe the world is paying attention to our every move, when in reality, almost no one is. Researchers at Cornell University proved this in a classic experiment. They made students wear an embarrassing t-shirt, think giant photo of Barry Manilow, and walk into a room full of peers. The students guessed that about 50% of people noticed the shirt. In reality, only 10% did. Most people are so caught up in their own inner monologue that they barely notice anyone else's. This trick isn't just comforting, it's liberating. If you realize people aren't watching your every mistake, you act with more confidence. You speak up in meetings. You dance at the party. You stop letting imaginary judgment hold you back. Actors, athletes, and public speakers use this insight all the time. They train themselves to focus on the task, not the imagined audience. And the best part? When you stop caring what people think, people start noticing you more. Not because you're perfect, but because confidence is contagious. People don't just respond to praise or criticism, they respond to identity. Tell someone they are a kind person, and they'll act more kindly. Tell them they are unreliable, and their behavior might spiral to match. This is known as the labeling effect, and it's one of the most underrated psychological levers in existence. In one famous experiment, researchers told a random group of adults that they were likely voters. No data, no special reason, just that label. Days later, that group turned out to be 15% more likely to actually vote compared to those who weren't labeled. Why? Because when we're given an identity, our brains try to stay consistent with it. It's the same reason why people who say, "I'm a runner," are more likely to keep exercising than people who say, "I'm trying to run more." Identity beats intention every time. You can use this for good, especially in relationships or workplaces. Telling a friend, "You're always great at calming people down," encourages them to live up to that. Telling yourself, "I'm someone who finishes what I start," builds internal consistency. Our self-image acts like a script. The words we use become lines we end up performing. So choose your labels carefully, because your brain believes them. Let's talk about persuasion. The polite kind. If you want someone to agree to something, start with a ridiculous request. That's the door-in-the-face technique, a persuasion trick that relies on the principle of reciprocity. Psychologists in 1975 ran a clever experiment. They asked students to volunteer 2 years as counsellors for juvenile delinquents. Almost everyone said no, obviously. Then they followed up immediately. Okay, would you at least take them on a single 2-hour trip to the zoo? Suddenly, 50% said yes. Why? Because when someone rejects your big ask, they feel slightly guilty. When you compromise and ask for something smaller, they subconsciously want to meet you halfway. Marketers use this constantly. Charities might first ask for a $100 donation, then settle for $20. Even negotiators do it. By anchoring high, they make the real offer seem more reasonable. You can use it gently in life, not to manipulate, but to reframe. Start with an exaggerated request, then back down to what you truly need. It signals flexibility, which makes others feel like they're part of a fair exchange. And yes, it works just as well on parents, bosses, and even customers. Just don't abuse it, or you'll end up with the reverse Franklin effect. People avoiding you entirely. Humans are wired for connection, and much of that wiring happens unconsciously. When you talk to someone and your body language starts syncing, leaning in when they do, smiling when they smile, that's mirroring. It's not acting, it's biology. Mirror neurons in your brain fire both when you act and when you observe someone else acting. They're empathy engines. In 1999, a psychologist named Tanya Chartrand ran a study where participants interacted with researchers who subtly mirrored their posture and gestures. When asked afterward, participants consistently rated those researchers as more likable and trustworthy. Even waiters benefit from this. A study found that servers who repeated customers' orders verbatim got 70% higher tips than those who paraphrased. Because mimicry builds unconscious trust. You can try this yourself. When talking to someone, mirror their tone, their energy, even their phrasing, slightly. If they speak softly, lower your own voice. If they use humor, match their playfulness. It signals, we're the same tribe. But subtlety is the key. Too much mirroring feels robotic. The goal isn't imitation, it's attunement. Done right, you'll feel the difference instantly. Conversations flow easier, and people just like you more. The human mind loves shortcuts. And these 5 tricks work because they tap straight into those automatic systems. Ask for favors, not approval. Stop imagining everyone's watching you. Label yourself the way you want to become. Negotiate with kindness, not pressure. And mirror connection, not perfection. These aren't hacks to control people. They're insights to understand them. You just got a peek under the hood of human behavior. Use it wisely. If you learned something new today, tap that like button. It really helps the channel grow. Drop a comment with which trick surprised you most, and don't forget to subscribe for more mind-bending facts every week.